Now, horses' teeth are constantly growing or erupting, they call it, and that's why we have to have dentistry done on our horses. It's not like in the wild when horses were able to graze on various vegetation like trees and bark and twigs and things like that. Domestication has changed that, so what ends up happening is they end up with really sharp points on their teeth, and they cut their gums and they cut their cheeks, and it makes it very difficult for them to chew. And the teeth become not quite so balanced. And this procedure is called floating the teeth when the dentist gets in there. And there's a couple of different ways for doing this. They can do it manually or they can do it with a power tool. And so it's called a manual float or a power float. Now, the power float can be done really quite quickly and with it's a lot less physically taxing on the vet or the equine dentist. So there's some advantages there. And the other thing that happens is most horses are sedated for the procedure. If your horse was to make a sudden movement, they don't end up cutting in the mouth or taking too much tooth or something like that. The other thing that I've had happen is Mr. Tay has been manually floated and power floated without his head having to be in a stand. So his head is actually quite low and they do it that way. He's also had a power float where he's had to have his head in a stand so that the dentist can look in there and get in there a lot easier. I personally don't care for that, and I will request that not to have that done again, because the horse is really in an unnatural position with his head up like that, and you can end up with possible chiropractic issues. There's a few other issues that have come up with power floating over the years. It became very, very popular. It still is really popular. And what has ended up happening is they've actually overfloated the teeth. So they've taken too much off. So your horse ends up trying to compensate for that by cinching down its molars and trying to grind the food like that. And as a result, horses have come with TMJ pain. Now, I'm not saying that a power float can't be done properly. For sure it can. You just need to find an equine dentist that is experienced, that is aware of TMJs, and that can do a really good job for you. Now, a power float, the tool for it looks very much like a large drill, and it's got a disc on the end that spins, and that grinds the teeth down. And manual floating has various files of different sizes, small and large, and different angles to get in and all the different kinds of teeth. And your equine dentist gets in there and actually goes back and forth and files the teeth down. So it is a lot slower procedure, and it's a little bit more physically taxing. So sometimes there's benefits and sometimes not. So I hope that's given you a little bit more information for you to make a decision when you're getting a dentist in for your horse. Again, I think it is a huge part of horse husbandry and not something to be ignored.